Bienvenidos. My name is Tina Kern. I'm on the executive board of NJTESOL-NJBE, and I'm here with Leanne, also on the executive board of NJTESOL-NJBE, and I am proud to introduce Maria Zamora, who is going to talk to us about undocumented students and higher education. Ella va a decir muchas cosas muy interesantes sobre undocumented students and higher education. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. I'm very happy to be here. I am going to quickly share my screen so we can see the presentation. Okay, perfect. So can everyone see it? Perfect. Alrighty. So this presentation was originally a work collaboration with Newark Public Schools, but today I'll be helping you all out and current students, parents, and counselors and teachers in the room. And we're going to talk a little bit about undocumented students in higher education. And my name is Maria Zamora. I am the Assistant Director for Undocumented Student Services at Rutgers University-Newark. And I'll just hop in and we'll start. So in terms of parents and students and what that should look like moving forward, if you are a junior, if you're a senior in high school, and even early on working together as soon as possible to identify the issues at hand, it is to make a list of schools that you can attend. So for undocumented students, usually I tell them to look at states or look at schools that are undocu-friendly. And it's very simple. It's a Google search. You just type in the school and undocumented students, and they should have a page just for that, or a subpage with a couple answers and questions for the individuals. And then you get a sense of what the school dynamic is and the environment is, if they accept undocumented students or if they're undocu-friendly. And then create a financial plan. In the state of New Jersey, we have the New Jersey Alternative Aid application, HESA, state aid for individuals, which I'll get into. We have a whole page about that. And then I'll just, in the chat, are you talking about the presentation? Sorry, I'm just a little.
No, any link that you have to help the parents.
Okay, yeah, definitely. I'll do that towards the end. And I'll give you some links at the end of the presentation as well. I have a few. So in terms of financial plan, I'll have 2 slides as well to talk about FAFSA and the difference between HESA and New Jersey Alternative Aid application. Become familiar with college support programs. Depends on the school that you're going to, what type of programs do accept undocumented students, ELF, who has those specialized individual programs. We have in the state of New Jersey, Rutgers Future Scholars, it's a program that targets individuals in 7th, 8th grade, that mentors them and then transfers into Rutgers University. So see if there's individual specialized programs that accept undocumented students. Make appointments with programs and admissions departments. So I highly suggest this for undocumented students that are interested in going out of state. And for if you're going to states that are maybe not so undocu-friendly, so we're talking about some red states, some states in the South actually do not allow undocumented students to attend public schools. So just being and having aware of what schools you're going to and doing that research, as well as look for scholarships. I'll also add that link at the end. Immigrants Rising is a great resource for undocumented students because it provides hundreds of scholarships yearly for individuals to apply. What parents should know is if your student or your child is undocumented, depending on their status, usually are the individuals that do not qualify for in-state tuition, meaning they didn't complete high school here, or they only completed a year of high school, then it might take a little longer to graduate just because of the financial portion. So just to give and have an understanding of your what your child is going through as an undocumented student, that it might not be 4 years, it could be longer. Don't be afraid to ask or encourage your child to go to high school, to ask your high school counselors or college advisors questions. I know that a lot of counselors, do not have the resources available to them to answer all of these questions. And that's why I tried to do as many of these presentations to different public school systems to support counselors. But if they don't know the answer, they most likely will reach out to an individual that does. And just being persistent. I know a little bit about me. I am a DACA recipient. I was born in Costa Rica, and I went to college without in-state tuition, and I went to college without state aid. So it was very difficult, but when I reached out to my counselors and I asked a lot of questions and was very persistent, they started looking into how they can support me. And then also looking into different success stories for a lot of undocumented students. We have hundreds of thousands of undocumented students, DACA recipients, non-DACA recipients that are very successful. So in regards to some options students have as undocumented, they can go into a 2-year institution or straight to a 4-year institution. And I think as of 2018, it's been very much easier for undocumented students to go straight to a 4-year institution just because of the state aid that's available to them. But they have options. I always encourage students to not be ashamed of taking the 2-year route to go to community college. I went to community college. Then I was transferred into a 4-year. It's a great option. And you save a lot of money, as well as with the state of New Jersey, we have the grant opportunity. And if they transfer into Rutgers University, I'm not being biased, but we also offer a full ride if you earn less than $65,000 a year, and we offer extra aid, right? So these are just the prices, and we're comparing, contrasting as to what you can do with your finances. So these are some of the questions that a lot of individuals ask, and I'll talk about them in the following slides. But do undocumented students qualify for federal aid? Do they qualify for in-state tuition? What about private scholarships and state aid? So undocumented students do not qualify for federal aid. So this includes FAFSA. They should not be applying to FAFSA unless for very specific reasons, if they are applying to an out-of-state private institution. So that would only be very specific schools that ask them to fill out FAFSA so they can get a range of their parents' financials, right? So federal law does not prohibit states from providing in-state tuition to undocumented students. That's why in 2018, Governor Murphy passed the New Jersey Alternative Aid application. But in the state of New Jersey, undocu folks should not be applying to FAFSA. They will get automatically rejected. Some institutions may require DACA students to complete FAFSA to qualify for institutional aid, but that's only for private institutions outside of New Jersey, okay? Private institutions in New Jersey are very much aware of the New Jersey Alternative Aid application, and most likely they will have the student apply for it. If the student does not have a social security number, if the parent does not have a social security number, do not provide their ITIN. That will just be very confusing, and they will take it as their social security. Just put in all zeros. As I think it was as of last month, they told me that you don't have to constantly be submitting at the end because there's like a glitch that happens. You can just submit it, and it will FAFSA will allow you to do it, because we have a lot of students that come from mixed status families. Okay, and then, so in-state tuition and NJ tuition equity. So in order to qualify for in-state tuition, you have to attend high school for 3 or more years. And right now, for Rutgers, if you do 2.5 years, we still accept New Jersey. You can qualify for in-state tuition and in-state and state aid. So where it's a little iffy, depends on the counselor, and it depends on the state counselor who's looking over your application. You have to graduate from New Jersey high school or an equivalent, like a high school diploma, and filed an affidavit for whatever institution you're attending at the time. And this is what the affidavit looks like for Rutgers. You would just put in the high school that you attend, attended, the city, the state, and what years you went from. So once you apply to Rutgers, and I'm sure it goes to all institutions, you will send in the transcript that's available. And then once you graduate, then you have to send a second transcript to confirm that you graduated from high school. And this can be found in the website. And then when I send out the presentation, you can just click on this link as well. So I put in a QR code. I think that's sometimes easier for individuals just to use your phone to go straight to the website. But this is the New Jersey Alternative Aid application. This is what you're going to be using to apply for aid. And we call it HESA in a sense, just because that's the site that we go through. But this is for non-citizens or non-eligible citizens. And again, it's the same type of eligibility from in-state tuition, graduate high school, at least 3 years, but again, it's around 2.5. They're being very lenient with that. And graduate or have a diploma. If you identify as a male, you have to register for selective service. And again, file an affidavit stating that once you can legalize your immigration status, you will do so. And this is what it looks like. So once you sign in and you're trying to create an account, they're going to ask you 5 questions. And if you qualify, you should have all yes. So you did attend a high school, you did graduate, I will file an affidavit. Do you plan to attend a college in New Jersey, and your citizenship status? And that's where a lot of people get confused right here on the bottom. You have to click, I am not a citizen or eligible non-citizen. Okay, it won't allow you to submit, or you'll submit and it says that you're not eligible. So then you'll have to go back again. Alrighty, and then it'll take you here. You will create the application, first name, last name, your date of birth. If you are a DACA recipient, a TPS recipient, or if you have a work authorization, you will put in your social security number, okay? If you don't have one, you're gonna put, you're not gonna put anything. HESA will give you a customer ID number. So your customer ID number will be like the alternative social security number. So if you have any questions, when you call HESA for anything, you'll give them their customer ID number, and that's how they'll identify you. Okay. So a lot of problems come with students when they're undocumented is because their parents do not file taxes, right? They don't file their tax ITIN. They don't have an ITIN number. They don't. How do they get a customer ID number? So let me go back. Little question. So it says, if you're a Dreamer student, do not have a social security number, please leave blank and do not put zeros. HESA will assign you a 9-digit identification number used to apply for this application. So once you fill out all of this, you're gonna leave the last 3 boxes empty and you're gonna submit it. Once you submit it, it's gonna be in like a generated number that pops up in your screen saying like, this is your customer ID number, this is your receipt number, and then from there, you can start filling the application.
State aid.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Do you have a question?
No, I'm sorry. I was just talking to my husband at the same time. Didn't realize.
Okay, no worries. All right. So a lot of students, when they come to Rutgers and they say, I want to apply for the state aid, but my parents don't file taxes, that really becomes an issue. It's really, really hard for students to get aid if their parents don't file taxes. So if you are a counselor in the room or a teacher and you see that your student is undocumented and they're still a junior or a senior, this is the time right now to maybe have a conversation with their parents about if they're filing taxes or not. If they're not filing taxes, it's really important that they do, just because if they ever do change their immigration status later on in the future, they do have to prove that they were filing taxes at some point, right? And right now, IRS does not really care about the immigration status. They really just care if you're paying your taxes every year. So that's one of the issues a lot of individuals have. It's like, what if I file and ICE comes and deports me? It doesn't really work that way. They really don't share information like that. And IRS just really honestly cares about getting paid every year from the individual. So in order to file the New Jersey Alternative Aid application and the student is under 24, meaning they are dependent of a guardian, they have to show that they paid taxes for that year the New Jersey Alternative Aid application is asking for. So in order to have an ITIN, you do need to file it with the IRS or with an accountant, and they need to provide a valid passport, a non-expired passport from the country of origin, and file taxes that year. So they can file the New Jersey Alternative Aid application without taxes, but 9 out of 10 times they get rejected, and they get the state will ask them for more information as to why they don't file taxes. They'll ask them for like how much it's like a worksheet of how much they earn of a year, how much they pay for rent, for food, groceries, clothing. And after you go through all of that process, because you have to prove how much you technically earn, you can ask your employer for a letter saying this is how much they earn, but a lot of employers don't tend to do that because they are admitting that they're hiring an undocumented individual. So it becomes very complicated. So I do recommend for students to apply, for their parents to start filing their taxes. What if a student doesn't have a passport? That gets very complicated. I would suggest contacting a immigration attorney. There are a lot of pro bono individuals that do that. If they don't have a passport, but they come from a country that there's an embassy in the United States, they can go to that embassy and request a passport from that embassy. And then it takes quite a long time. That's why I do ask for individuals, if they know that their student is undocumented from a very early stage, to please start getting that process moving along, because there are a lot of individuals that don't have a valid passport. So they can contact their embassy. From there, they have to find an accountant, and then from there they file the ITIN application, and that could be over a year process. So if they don't have, or they come from a country that does not have an embassy in the US, then I would suggest to contact an immigration lawyer to see what other options you will have. Okay, this is also the link here, the QR code to the ITIN application in the IRS. And then right here, this is a resource in New Jersey, citizensaction.org, that prepares taxes for free. And there's different offices in the state of New Jersey. So this is some institutional support. I come from Rutgers, so we have the Office for Undocumented Student Services. I am aware that we're very privileged to have this office. Not a lot of institutions have a support like this for their undocumented students, but I support and empower undocumented students, mixed status families, and allies to navigate higher education. I support anywhere from financial aid, so I fill out the New Jersey Alternative Aid application with students and parents. I literally go step by step with them. Career development, so if you don't have a social security number or a work permit, I definitely have workshops on freelancing and entrepreneurship, wellness, and just being an undocumented immigrant. Students can come and talk about their status if they're feeling a certain way, and just having support and being the champion and supporting their families as well. This QR code also takes us to the website at Rutgers University and what we do at my office as well. Okay. Other support is the Run to the Top program. So after the student applies to state aid and external scholarships, whatever isn't covered, the university will cover it. So if you come from, there's obviously requirements. You have to live in Newark or be a transfer student. I believe they just extended the city of Orange into the city of Irvington. So if you come from all of those places or a transfer student from a community college and earn less than $65,000 a year, then we cover whatever external scholarships or federal aid or state aid doesn't. And undocumented students are covered under this institutional program. The second is the Dream.US. The Dream.US is a scholarship fund for DACA-mentor students. Right now, they also extended it to non-DACA students just because of the issues right now where individuals cannot apply to DACA right now. So they've extended it to non-DACA students, and it's a $25,000 scholarship for either a 2 or a 4-year institution. Right now, it only goes to community colleges, I believe Essex County, and Rutgers, Newark, and Rutgers, New Brunswick. So those are the only 3 partner institutions with that scholarship. And it's a great institution. It's a great scholarship to have. For Rutgers, we do require students to have health insurance. So the Dream.US does cover half of that fee for individuals that don't have it. The deadline is the 31st for this scholarship. So it's January 22nd. You still have some time for it, but just look at the partner institutions and see if you want to apply to any of those partner institutions. I believe that right now, if you are in the state of New Jersey and you would like to go to a different partner institution in a different state, you can do so. But I'm not too sure when they change, if they change that due to expanding the scholarship to non-DACA recipients. And then Essex County College, and this is the only community college that I have a partnership with. So I'm sure there are other community colleges that do this, but right now ECC has a honors program that does cover tuition for individuals that are accepted no matter their immigration status. So you get a full tuition for being part of that program. I mentioned Rutgers Future Scholars, and Rutgers Future Scholars are only for individuals that live in Piscataway, New Brunswick, Newark, and Camden. It is a program from middle school, and they do a lot of mentorship and workshops with the individuals in the summer and the weekend. And if they choose to apply to Rutgers or any Rutgers college, either New Brunswick, Newark, or Camden, they get a full academic scholarship to attend. But you have to live in those 3 towns. Then the Honors Living Learning Community at Rutgers University-Newark is a academic scholarship that also provides a residential scholarship. So it is a full ride to live on campus, and you also get some food support, as well as a little bit of a scholarship towards your academic. But essentially, it's a social justice cohort. It is a very competitive scholarship. Around 3,000 individuals apply every year, and only around 50 to 75 individuals are accepted. And they don't care about anyone's immigration status to apply. So these are some of the resources available to our students, to faculty, staff, parents. You have me as a resource. You can always email me and ask me any questions. I'll add my email again in the chat. I know that some folks came in later. And then Make the Road New Jersey, there is a legal team in Elizabeth, and there is one also in New York, but the Elizabeth team has been great and has supported a lot of the students. They also work with RECAP, which is the Rutgers Immigration Community Assistance Project, as well as the Rutgers Law Clinic. And a lot of their law students go over there and support individuals with their DACA applications or with any type of immigration issues that a student or individual in the community might have. Immigrants Rising is the scholarship application that I was telling you about. It is a PDF that you download every year, and there's hundreds of scholarships that undocumented students can apply. And it has been vetted already. So they looked into the organization and the requirements for you. So as long as you meet like the region portion of it, or if there is a specific audience it's targeted to, you can apply to it. United with Dream is a nationwide organization that advocates for undocumented folks. And they also provide a fund for DACA recipients. So if you need to renew your DACA, you can apply to that fund and they'll support you in that sense. Rutgers University too also pays for the Homeland Security check for DACA recipients, or when the application does ever open again, we also support financially our students as well. So if a student does come to Rutgers, we also provide free legal services and support, financially support if they're ever applying for DACA, TPS, and we also do support for US citizens as well if they're applying for that. And then lastly, my Undocumented Life is a blog. So I think this is a great option for young undocumented students in high school to go through this blog and see that it is possible to have a successful life as an undocumented individual in the US. So if individuals are feeling a little lost or sad about their status or seeing their friends go off to different places, and maybe they can do that because of their immigration status. So definitely it's a great place for them to go and see what other individuals have done, as well as a great resources for scholarships and for job opportunities. Okay, and that's my contact information. That's also our Instagram. We do a lot of events for our students and we provide some resources there. Okay, and that completes my presentation.
Do we have the Spanish slides?
So it doesn't let me submit it for some reason in the chat. It only gives me options.
Let me take a look. I don't know if there's any way. I don't think from the settings that I can change it. I don't know. You said it's a PDF, correct?
It's a PDF. I mean, and yeah, I can't even.
I don't know if there's a way. If you did you get my email address by chance?
I didn't. Let me see if I can.
I think I DM'd it. Let me see. I don't know if there's any other way if I could present it.
If,
Let me try to email it to you.
Yeah, and if
Okay.
maybe we can share the screen.
Yeah, that's the only thing I can think of. Even if it's a PDF, could we just share it on screen?
Yeah. Or maybe it could be sent to the cloud, to the drive.
So in the meantime, I guess if there's any questions.
Yeah, there is a question in the chat. We are going to have the presentation on our website, New Jersey-TESOL-NJBE, and I think, Leanne, I think it is going to be sent to the people who participate. Is that correct?
I think so. However, I don't want to misspeak and if that's not correct, but that was my understanding. So I think that's probably what will happen. We can confirm also with
Right.
Kathy.
Right. We'll be getting a link to the website and it'll be there with parent resources. So that link was shared in the main room. So when we complete this and we go back to the main room, that would be a great question for the main room.
Yes, and I also, just before I forget as well, I'm going to put in the chat box now as well for those of you that are participants today. As mentioned in the beginning, we are having a raffle for a Target gift card. So I'll put that in the chat and we just ask that you open that document, type in your name and your email, and then that way you'll be entered to win as well.
I want to thank you, Maria. The resources are incredible. I was actually closed my camera to take a picture of some of the resources because this is incredible information. And when you mentioned the blog, so many students would really, really like to know about that and feel that they're not alone.
The creator's name is slipping my mind. I think it's Danielle. They're twins, but they're PhD candidates. So at this point, I think they might have already graduated with their PhDs from Harvard. And they were undocumented students, and they were part of one of the first individuals to advocate for DACA back early in the 2000s. And they went to college and without in-state tuition or aid as well. So I can very much say it's very difficult to pay your way through college without any type of aid. So I know that a lot of students right now feel a little hopeless, but there are so much resources now than there was 5 years ago for individuals who are undocumented in the state of New Jersey. We're very much behind when it comes to the West Coast in regards to undocu support, but we're getting there. We really are. Rutgers University and our chancellor, Nancy Cantor, has definitely advocated and serves as the co-chair for the President's Alliance on Higher Education and Immigration. And definitely we have been supporting and trying to make a role model of our institution for other individuals to join and create a position like this to support undocumented students. So it's very much possible. And I'm also very happy to support students or answer any questions from guidance counselors or teachers. That you have my information. So I'm all ears.
Thank you so much. And with this video being recorded, other people will be able to access it too. I thank you so much. I've learned so much today that I will carry back to my schools. And I know Leanne.
Yes, and I do want to just as well interrupt quickly because I was able to take the link that you sent to the Spanish version of the presentation and add it to Google Drive. So if you'd like, I can put that link in the chat. Is that okay if I share that?
Definitely. Thank you. I don't know. I usually am very tech savvy with this stuff, but I could not put it in the chat.
And you're doing a lot. You already did so much for us just by sharing all of your knowledge. So that's very much appreciated. I can certainly do that for you. All right.
No, thank you for coming early Saturday morning.
Yes. Absolutely.
I'm actually going to click it so I have it too. Okay. So thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. And I'm going to also stop the recording now.
Okay.